Welcome to my story time by mybooksummary.com. Get ready for quick wisdom of countless stories and explore. Anxiety Sucks, a teen survival guide by Natasha Daniels. If you've ever experienced that heavy feeling of anxiety, heart racing, palms sweating, mind spiraling, you're not alone. It's a universal emotion that affects millions of people, especially teens. The good news? You don't have to suffer in silence. Enter Natasha Daniels, who, in her book Anxiety Sucks, a teen survival guide, makes it her mission to help teens understand and conquer the emotional beast known as anxiety. This book is far from your typical self-help manual. It doesn't throw complicated jargon or impossible tips at you. Instead, Daniels connects with her readers in a down-to-earth, humorous, and totally relatable way. After all, being a teen is hard enough without anxiety throwing in a curveball, right? Let's dive into this survival guide and see how Daniels turns the overwhelming world of anxiety into something you can handle with a little humor and a lot of practical advice. Introduction. Why does anxiety have to be a thing? Daniels opens the book with a question many teens ask. Why am I feeling like this? What's going on with me? She doesn't sugarcoat the reality. Anxiety is a common struggle, but that doesn't mean it should control your life. Instead of making you feel worse for feeling anxious, Daniels gives a huge "it's okay to acknowledge those feelings." Throughout the book, Daniels makes it clear that anxiety isn't just some random thing you feel for no reason. It's a natural response to stress, and while it can be overwhelming, it's something you can manage. This isn't some mysterious monster. It's your body's way of reacting to stress, and with the right tools, you can learn how to control it. Chapter 1. What the heck is anxiety? Before diving into solutions, Daniels takes a step back to explain what anxiety actually is. She breaks it down like a pro, making sure it's understandable and relatable. Anxiety is your body's alarm system, like a fire drill for your emotions. It's that fight or flight response that kicks in when you face something scary or stressful. The difference is, sometimes your body hits the panic button when there's no actual danger. Daniels reassures readers that feeling anxious doesn't make you weak or weird. It makes you human. She gently reminds us that everyone has their own triggers, whether it's school, social situations, or even family drama. It's normal to feel anxious about stuff, but it's the constant worrying that becomes the problem. Chapter 2. What's your anxiety type? Here's where things get a little more personal. Daniels introduces the idea that anxiety isn't a one-size-fits-all situation. Some teens feel anxious when they have to speak in front of the class, while others might experience it as constant worry about their future. Daniels gives a range of anxiety types, from social anxiety to performance anxiety to generalized anxiety, and lets you explore which one sounds most like your experience. By figuring out what kind of anxiety you're dealing with, Daniels says, you can start to address it with more targeted solutions. It's like identifying your villain before trying to defeat it, much easier than swinging in the dark. Chapter 3. The Thought Spiral: How to Stop the Negative Loop. Anxiety isn't just physical. It messes with your mind, too. Daniel spends time explaining how anxiety often makes you spiral into negative thinking. You might catch yourself thinking things like, I'm going to fail that test, or everyone's going to hate me. Sound familiar? The key, Daniel says, is learning how to challenge those thoughts. She suggests a technique called thought stopping, which is basically like pressing the pause button on your brain. When you catch yourself spiraling, you can stop and ask yourself, is this thought really true? Is this how I talk to my friend if they were feeling the same way? By reframing your thoughts, you take away some of the power anxiety has over you. Daniels also reminds readers that your thoughts don't define you. Just because you think something doesn't make it true, and definitely doesn't mean it's permanent. Chapter 4. The Power of Deep Breathing and Relaxation. Now let's talk about breathing. Sounds super basic, but Daniel swears by it. Deep breathing exercises can help calm your body and mind when anxiety is raging. This isn't some fluffy, take a deep breath and everything will be fine kind of advice. Daniels explains the science behind deep breathing, how it helps activate your parasympathetic nervous system, fancy term for the part of your body that helps you relax, and how it can help you feel centered in moments of stress. She even shares specific breathing exercises like the 4-7-8 technique, where you inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. It sounds simple, but Daniels promises it works like a charm when you're caught in a moment of panic. Chapter 5. How to Face Your Fears. This chapter is where things get a little uncomfortable, but in a good way. Daniels doesn't shy away from telling teens that the way to beat anxiety is by facing your fears. She introduces the idea of exposure therapy, where you slowly and safely confront the things that make you anxious. But don't worry, Daniels doesn't suggest you suddenly go up to your crush and confess your feelings in front of a crowd, unless you're feeling brave, of course. She encourages taking baby steps, like texting your crush or simply saying, "Hi" in the hallway, and gradually working your way up. By slowly exposing yourself to your fears, you start to see that they aren't as scary as they seem. Plus, every step you take is a victory. Chapter 6. The Importance of Self-Care. A big part of dealing with anxiety is taking care of yourself. Daniels emphasizes how important it is to have a routine that includes self-care activities. Whether it's reading a book, doing some light exercise, or taking a bubble bath. Taking time for yourself isn't selfish. It's essential for maintaining your mental health. She also talks about how getting enough sleep, eating nutritious foods, and staying hydrated can all play a huge role in reducing anxiety. Sounds simple, but we all know how easy it is to skip sleep or grab fast food when life gets busy. Daniels encourages readers to make self-care a priority, even if it means saying no to things that drain you. Chapter 7. Talking about it, the power of asking for help. Sometimes, the best thing you can do when you're dealing with anxiety is to talk about it. Daniels acknowledges that it's not always easy to open up, especially for teens who might fear judgment or misunderstanding. But she assures readers that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Whether it's talking to a parent, a trusted teacher, or a counselor, expressing what you're going through can provide relief. Daniels even offers practical tips on how to approach someone about your anxiety, making it easier for teens to have those tough conversations. Final thoughts. Anxiety doesn't have to be your enemy. In the last section of the book, Daniels offers a final, uplifting message. Anxiety doesn't have to control you. Yes, it sucks, but with the right tools and mindset, you can manage it. The book ends on a hopeful note, reminding teens that they have the power to take control of their lives, even in the face of anxiety. Anxiety Sucks. A Teen Survival Guide is the ultimate manual for any teen who feels overwhelmed by anxiety. With humor, relatability, and practical advice, Daniels empowers her readers to not just survive, but thrive. Anxiety is part of the human experience, but it doesn't define who you are or what you can achieve. Through self-awareness, facing fears, and leaning on support, teens can learn to live with anxiety, not as a victim, but as a survivor. Stay tuned for more enlightening content. Head over to www.mybooksummary.com. Don't forget to subscribe and share the magic with friends. And let's grow together through the power of books and interesting stories.